so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media in Foxboro as the Patriots just wrapped up the 19th training camp practice of the summer, but we are now in regular season mode, meaning that A, the Patriots done with preseason games, focus on the Las Vegas Raiders coming up 2 weeks from today, but also the other aspect here is that we are in regular season reporting mode, only on attendance and only who was out here today, and there's a lot of storylines wrapped into that, so we'll get into all that. We'll talk attendance. We will also talk some other storylines around the team, including Layden Robinson was waived by the team today with an injury designation, and according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Patriots are apparently floating some depth tackle players as trade chips. So we'll hit on all those, but we'll start with the attendance. Taylor, Christian Gonzalez, Jalen Polk, Marcus Epps, Terrell Jennings, Anthony Jennings, Jelani Tavai, Jack Gibbons, Layden Robinson, waived, Cole Strange, Kendrick Bourne, and Efton Chisholm all missing from practice. Now, a couple of these guys make sense. We know Jalen Polk sounds like he's going to have the season-ending shoulder surgery. Christian Gonzalez not out here as he continues with the hamstring. But some of these guys, you know, your Efton Chisholms, but obviously Marcus Epps, Terrell Jennings, some feel like cut candidates. Others we saw on the bottom practice field. And are working to rehab back. So what do you make of the attendance today, who we did see, who we didn't see, and what do I mean for the future with the team?
Yeah, the biggest red flags for me, a lot of these guys have been hurt, so we didn't expect to see them out there, but Marcus Epps, Cole Strange, and as we found out, Layden Robinson were the ones that stood out the most because we didn't know if they were dealing with any injuries. Obviously, Layden we now know was, but he was also consistently repping with the third offense throughout the entire summer and really going all the way back to spring. So it wasn't surprising to see that they may potentially either move on from Layden, or if he isn't claimed, he could resort to injured reserve and still technically be on the team, but his season would be over. Now, Marcus Epps did make sense. One much better performance from Kyle Duggar. We mentioned it. After seeing what he is capable of in that Giants game, looked like he was more comfortable moving around more, making plays. He looked like a starter who was going up against backups. I think maybe he was able to save his spot. Marcus Epps did not play as well. He struggled in man coverage. Another guy who's coming off a significant injury from last year, but you can see the explosiveness is really sapped from Marcus Epps. And as a guy who was already going to be maybe your fifth safety, I understood why they'd probably move on from him now that you've seen more from Kyle Duggar. So we still don't know what exactly happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if Marcus Epps is now no longer with the team. Cole Strange also kind of in that mix is someone who I thought he had a better game against the Vikings, but last week against the Giants, I thought he really did struggle, and it was unfortunate. When you talk about working against power, some of the mental mistakes as well, the high snaps. There was one, I'm not sure who exactly was wrong with it, but Wooldridge almost fumbled a snap in that game. And we know, even in practice, Cole Strange just fumbled as a snapper. And with this offensive line, it feels like you need to have some kind of versatility, especially as an interior guy, to be able to play all three spots. We've seen that from Ben Brown, a guy that we've projected will be on the roster. Haven't seen that from Cole Strange. Was hoping maybe he could make it if they wanted to keep extra depth on the interior practice squad, what have you, but maybe it's just better for Cole to go to a system where maybe they play a little bit more zone blocking schemes. It'll work with his skill set a little bit better, but it just feels like potentially Cole Strange's time in New England is at an end.
So like you said, it feels like Strange's time in New England is done. I want to quickly hit on Layden Robinson again. I know we mentioned it. Injury designation will have to clear through waivers. Is he a salvageable player for the Patriots in your eyes, or is this kind of a cut ties, he needs a change of scenery type player? Do you think that he's someone who could potentially come back in the practice squad and still end up being, you know, he's only a fourth-round pick last year. Is he somebody that could still be of value to this Patriots team?
I mean, injured reserve is still an option, so technically he'd still be with the team. But we've also seen like Yasir Durant reverted to IR when he was waived with an injury designation, and then they reached a settlement, so he's no longer with the team.
Right.
I could see that happening with Layden because it doesn't feel like he's gotten any genuine opportunities to compete for even a top backup spot. Like I said, he's been a third-teamer at best the entire summer, so I just think that probably with Layden Robinson, his time under this new regime in New England is probably coming to an end.
Earlier, I want to quickly fix something too. I mentioned Efton Chisholm in that same breath as guys who could be cut. I didn't mean that.
He's a lock. We know Chisholm.
He's a roster lock. He's a guy. I was talking about some of the other guys. Your Terrell Jennings and Cole Strange and whatnot. So
Terrell Jennings, I think, also might. That's an injury thing. He hasn't practiced in a while.
Yeah, 100%. So again, we'll see where the roster takes us. One more attendance piece before we touch on those trade candidates. Kyle Williams was back at practice. He hasn't been out on the practice field since he got what looked to be his bell rung against the Minnesota Vikings a couple weeks ago in that second preseason game. He's back out here. Was involved today as well. I know we can't touch on much of it, but your thoughts on Williams coming back and what that means for the receiver room heading into week one, a position that, as we know, has been kind of up and down for the Patriots, not just this summer, but for the last couple of years.
We've mentioned if they do keep Kendrick Bourne, it would probably be to help steady some of the depth issues at receiver. Yeah. And we were thinking that would be short-term injured reserve, but if they're just hiding Kendrick Bourne saying, we know this guy can come back back. If we give him a couple weeks of practice, he'll be okay. And now, obviously, they're going to have the ramp up because you have the bye now before week 1. Now it looks a little bit different because I still think Kendrick Bourne, like if Ethan Chisholm really is hurt in this extended time, that's where Kendrick Bourne maybe makes the roster and maybe you keep Ethan Chisholm. I don't know. The ways that you manage the roster, we can get into that in a later episode. But it's better for the wide receiver depth knowing that Kyle Williams can be out there. Now you feel like you're more 5 deep. You got your starters that are locked in Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, and Kayshon Boutte. Matt Collins is a top 4th option who we know is going to be involved. Then you have Kyle Williams who brings that explosiveness, that vertical speed, and that gives you, I think, a much more well-rounded room skill set-wise. We still got to see Kyle Williams do it against starters and some of the better NFL talent he's going to face, but we know he's been very impressive in the preseason, so hopefully he gets healthy and that translates to week 1.
All right, so we know the Patriots offensive tackles, at least the starters, Will Campbell, Morgan Moses. We also know, and it's been kind of this has kind of came through over the last couple weeks now, Marcus Bryant, the 6th-round pick, seems to be their top swing tackle option. The other depth pieces, Vidarian Lowe, as well as DeMontre Jacobs, kind of iffy on the fringe of this roster, and ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports today that the Patriots have used those guys in trade talks. So, do you trying to figure how I want to word this here. Would you rather trade them? Would you rather see them on the team? Do you think they're worth something on the trade market, or do you think that's kind of just the Patriots trying to get ahead of it and be like, look, if somebody wants to come get these guys, they're more than available for. We're more than available for business.
Almost every NFL team is desperate for tackle depth. I think that's a very important thing to note here. And we know Vidarian Lowe is a lightning rod for controversy and for criticism.
Yes.
But the reality is, do you want him starting 16, 17 games for you? No, you don't. But do you want him as a spot starter? Someone who's experienced, has a skill set you can work with. He's long. He's got strong hands. And again, just NFL reps under his belt. As a spot starter, if your guy goes down, he has to play for 2 or 3 games, you could do a lot worse than Vidarian Lowe. I liked him as the Patriots' 4th backup tackle because you do have Marcus Bryant as a swing, but let's say he hits some kind of rookie wall or does struggle early on against top competition, at least you can put Vidarian Lowe in there as a break class case of emergency option, but that's also a really privileged position to be in. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone says, hey, I'll give you a 5th or a 4th. 4th is a lot. But if someone's giving you a 5th round pick, 5th or 6th, I think you maybe entertain that depending on how comfortable you are with Marcus Bryant, maybe your ability to get some other guys once they clear waivers. DeMontre Jacobs is a bit surprising to me. Now, not the fact that his name was floated. I understand that. But really, he struggled this summer. He was the top swing tackle, then lost his job to Marcus Bryant. Then once Vidarian Lowe got healthy, you could see he kind of plummeted down the depth chart. And frankly, I've been disappointed by what I've seen from DeMontre Jacobs in the preseason. He's had his moments, but there's also just been too many unacceptable losses for a guy who you would think would be a spot starter, but he's only really playing against backups. So I think Vidarian Lowe is someone who could fetch you maybe like a 5th or a 6th rounder. Trey Jacobs, maybe it's a player swap, maybe it's a 7th rounder. If you can get anything out of that or anything for Trey Jacobs, I think that's a win. But I don't know. I just don't necessarily see it unless a team is very, very desperate for some kind of swing tackle depth.
A couple years ago, Vidarian Lowe got here in this same kind of deal, right? It was towards the end of training camp.
Yeah,
they traded for him the last couple weeks. I wonder if the Patriots see some other depth guys across the league, figure, that maybe this guy can get cut. We can bring him in. He can be our 4th tackle, like you mentioned, and then we could potentially get something for Vidarian Lowe. So there's going to be a ton of moving pieces between Tuesday at 4 and the beginning of the regular season. We know that 53-man roster they set on Tuesday will likely change a lot over the next 10 days from there until Sunday against the Raiders. So we'll keep an eye on it, but this Patriots tackle room specifically sounds like one that could have some turnover over the next couple of days. So that's going to do it for our quick recap of Patriots practice today, as well as some storylines surrounding the Patriots. Back at it tomorrow on Monday as well, so we'll have coverage here from Foxboro here on Patriots Press Pass. So make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. And until then, we will see you next time.